Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Terry. How are you?
Let me turn up my speakers here so I can hear you. I turn them down when I'm in the library. Turn up my speakers here so I can hear you. You can hear me fine, can't you, Kelly?
I do hear you fine.
Okay. Well, when I'm in the library, I turn my speakers way down, so if I'm listening to something, other people can't hear it.
Aren't you supposed to use headphones?
Well, nobody does really, and yeah, at Midway, you can hear them talking clear up in the front of the library if you're in the back. And I broke my headphones anyway, so
I was just getting the live stream on YouTube going
okay.
so they can see our pretty faces.
Yeah, I was on a town hall with Mingus Maps Monday night, and my system updated a little bit, so maybe it's a little bit easier for me to do a chat or something now. But uh, it looked the bar looked a little different or something. But it was a pretty good meeting with Mingus.
I think he's a good guy.
I think
Unfortunately,
he's the one that really has his head on straight at the city council. I mean, I know him personally. I supported him for about 6 months before the election or something like that.
I'm I'm gonna head to the printer, see if there's something on there. I'll be right back.
Okay. Got somebody else coming in.
That's Jenny. She's connecting to audio.
I'm hoping for a short meeting tonight. It's been a long day.
I guess we'll see.
Sharon called me, said she might not be able to make it tonight. To
She
let you
just
know.
emailed me and said that she just got home and it's her birthday. So
Yes.
she is not coming.
Okay. She wasn't quite sure when I talked to her.
She was evidently babysitting grandchildren today,
She's
so
been
she
doing
didn't
that
know
a
what
lot.
time. Good for her. That's fun. Like that. It says my internet is unstable.
Yeah, I've had that problem here too. And I've had to, if you saw me click out and then come back in, that was because I had to redo the internet. But it seemed to bounce me right back into the Zoom last couple of meetings. What I found out was the library is up 24/7. So I could use their parking lot, but I'm not sure I want to sit in their parking lot after dark.
With your doors locked.
Yes, it is now. But that's where I was out at Midway with Mingus's meeting and flawless. But it was 6 to 7, so it was all light. Actually 6 to about 7:15.
It says Jenny is still trying to connect to audio. I wonder if
see
she
that.
has problems too.
Here she comes.
There you are.
Hi.
That took a while.
Oh, I was outside. I signed in like a couple minutes early, and then while I was waiting for you guys to let me in, I went outside. Are we it?
No, the camera should be here.
Okay, I'll be right back.
There she is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi,
I
Jenny.
think that
Think she stepped away again.
Okay.
I'm
she's
here.
also.
Hi.
Anyway, it's Sharon's birthday, so
Okay.
she's joining us. Zach had a baby.
Wow. I didn't even know that was possible.
He had a little boy named
Takes
Isaac.
two. Takes two, Tamara.
X2.
Sometimes.
Zoe had another conflict that came up, and you saw that Vicky isn't coming because it's
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So it's just us.
And that was one of the reasons Scott Cohen didn't want to present tonight as
I
well.
remember that.
So that worked out. That's just fine. Push that off to November. I appreciate that. I'm going to introduce myself. Are we on recording?
We are.
Okay, I'm Tamara DeRitter. I'm the co-chair for the Land Use and Transportation Committee, and I'm current chair of the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association. Kelly?
So I'm Kelly Davis. I'm co-chair with Tamara of the Land Use and Transportation Committee and a board member. Terry?
Terry Parker, board member and Transportation and Land Use Committee member. Jenny,
I'm Jenny Lyman, Land Use and Transportation Committee member.
Yay! Welcome, everyone. We have the land acknowledgement language somewhere that we should pull in.
I don't have that at my fingertips.
Okay. Got the neighborhood agreements, and I've got the old version. Okay. So if I can get you to share the screen.
Okay, hold on. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Okay, this is the current land acknowledgement. Well, actually, it's not. This is the older version. We actually inserted the names of the rivers. Sorry about this. That we propose to read at the beginning of all of our meetings. I'll read the first paragraph and then we can pass it around. Rose City Park Neighborhood Association was platted in 1907, the year of the first Portland Rose Festival. The neighborhood was to be designed as a true community, as a village in a park, providing accommodation to a wide range of incomes and people. Many of the major roads were trails used by Native people. Sandy Boulevard, which bisects the neighborhood from the southwest quadrant to the northeast quadrant, connected Chinook villages from the Sandy River and the Columbia River to the Willamette River. Kelly, you're next.
The next paragraph.
Yep.
As a neighborhood, we acknowledge the land we occupy and its original inhabitants, including the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowits, Clathlamit, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kapula, Molalla, and many other tribes who have made their homes along the Columbia River, currently united as the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. The community includes over 30 tribes and bands from Western Oregon, Northern California, and Southwest Washington. We acknowledge that this land was seized through coercion, dishonesty, and brutality. We acknowledge the violent history of Euro-American settlement that sought to extinguish indigenous life from the land. We recognize the enduring influence of that history on our region and the nearly 70,000 Native people descended from over 380 tribes living here today.
Who will pick up the last paragraph?
Jenny?
This land serves all people of different races, ethnic, and national backgrounds. We intend to honor the sacrifices of Native peoples by committing ourselves to community justice and equity. We pay respect to the Native peoples of this land and offer gratitude. We pay respect to the Native peoples of this land, past and present, offer gratitude to the rivers and forests that nourish our communities, and acknowledge our collective duty as stewards of the land.
Great. Thank you. And the next item is, hold on. Neighborhood agreements. Stop jumping down there. Oh, that's not it. Oh. Sorry about this. That's that. I have a drop down that keeps on jumping in there. Here we are. Here we just read the highlighted parts of the agreements, and I'll pass it around. Take collective and individual ownership. Pass it to Jenny.
Center, prioritize the most marginalized voices.
Terry.
assume best intentions, bring best intentions.
Kelly, you're next.
Ouch and oops.
Take space, make space.
Listen for understanding and remain respectfully engaged.
Deal with issues, not with people.
Be willing to experience discomfort.
No quick fix. Okay. That's what I've got. Do you have the agenda handy?
I do.
Then I will stop sharing and hand it over to you. We're not taking any major actions tonight, and we're just getting caught up on where we are on existing projects. That's my understanding.
Okay, I don't want that.
And kudos goes to Kelly for pulling this together for us. I had family I hadn't seen in 2 years show up today, so it was fun.
Okay, I'm looking for my desktop.
My hair is on the wrong side. It's okay. And that's your daughter right there, right?
That's my younger daughter. Okay,
Is she the attorney?
that is the structural engineer.
Ah.
This is going swimmingly, I think.
I can try to get into my emails and pull something up. Here, I've got it.
Okay, you're in charge.
All right. Let's see. Where did you go? You disappeared again. Now I've got to share the screen. I'm viewing the video screen. There's share screen. Thank you. Okay. My enlargement doesn't work. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. We are trying. Stop doing that. Get back up there. Go. Yeah. Go away. Yeah. Stop that. Anyway, this is what we've got. New business. Well, first we have minutes, and that's going to be the May 20th minutes as well as the August 19th minutes. Then we go to social media postings and conflict of interest. That's not in there. Check in with members' concerns. Then the conflict of interest forms, just checking in on those. And then we have the updates on slow, resilient streets, Brazil, and Sacramento, safe routes to schools, information regarding what they put there. Then the 72nd Bikeway, the Asian Vicariate, construction projects, the Sandy 21, and Rose City Park tennis courts. Then it's followed up by the Kali TIF. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda as written?
Just a question, Tamara,
Yeah,
and maybe it's part of one of the letter that we got from a lady about process for like statues. There was an email that was circulated. I don't remember her name. That's kind of a land use issue. It's also a board issue.
I don't know the email and I'm not sure what you're talking about.
There was an email, it's probably about 2 months old now, about how there should be a process for the removal of statues or the statue. It regarded she was talking about the base of the Washington statue and the fact that there was a sign on it. And then there was that there should be a process for the whole statues, a public process. And that's what I remember from it. I apologize. I don't remember a name. I'm not good at remembering names, but it's probably about a 2-month-old email that came to maybe it came to the board, and maybe it is a board issue, but it also seems like to me it's a land use issue.
Well, I think that resulted in the letter that you and Zoe are writing regarding, the location of statues. I believe the base of the statue did get notification that it was going to be removed.
Yes, what she was saying, why are we having notification of the base when there should be a whole public process in place that includes the statues and I got the impression whether it should be reinstalled or go away.
Well, I think again that was the purpose of going ahead and writing a letter.
Yes, I understand that. I guess what I'm asking, is that going to be strictly the board or is that going to be a land use issue?
My feeling is it went to the board
Okay.
and the board
fine.
dealt with it.
Well, we haven't dealt with the letter yet, but we started it. Okay, that's fine. I will accept that. I just wanted to be sure that it wasn't something that the land use committee should take up.
What do you think, Kelly? Hello?
Yeah,
Kelly?
the board. I'm here. I think it's a board issue.
It's fine. Okay.
Okay, what do you think, Jenny?
Don't know.
Yeah. I think the board dealt with it. That's what I would say.
Well, we started to deal with it. We haven't dealt with it in its entirely.
Well,
Because
okay.
until we approve a letter, it's not dealt with.
Well, I think you were directed to go ahead with a letter, and I don't know if the letter.
And I have submitted the letter and it has to be discussed by the board.
Okay. All right, so this is what we've got on the agenda for now. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I'll move that we do.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that's unanimous, so we don't have to do the other side. All right, so then we have the minutes. You want me to try to pull those up too?
Nope.
Nope. You've got them?
Well, I don't know that we need to pull them up.
Oh, okay.
Discuss them, see if anybody has any changes.
I didn't see anything when I overviewed them.
They look good to me.
Okay. I move we approve the May 20th minutes and the August 19th minutes as submitted.
I second that. All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Oh, okay, it's unanimous again. So there we go. All right. Then
Um,
go ahead.
The next issue, the social media postings, is a Sharon issue that she wanted discussed. I would like to maybe postpone that to the next meeting when Sharon's here.
I will say she talked to me a little bit about it on the phone, and she's concerned about people going outside the board and trying to get influence, or outside the committee or board and trying to get influence in, like putting it on Twitter or something like that, some of our issues. So that's kind of what it's about. I won't go any further with it, but that's what it's about.
Well, yeah, well, I think there is a Twitter feed out there that is bad mouthing Rose City Park for its opposition to the RIP, and some of the members have anti-bicycle views, and so we've gotten a bit of a rap out there.
There's
And-
one more. There's one more too, and it's with respect, from what I understand, from what Sharon told me, with the what is it, 64th, or where they put the new crosswalk in on Sacramento, Brazee and Sacramento there. I guess
Okay.
there's one about, there's one that too that's putting us down.
Oh, okay. Lovely. So that's what you get for trying to do good work.
What's RIP?
Residential infill project.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
actually, so you know all about that.
That's got to be an old one.
Yeah, well, lasting memories, I guess. So,
But the most recent one is with respect to where they put in, like I say, on 64th and Brazee and Sacramento there. It is 64th, isn't it?
Brazee?
Yeah, and Brazee and that somebody is complaining that we don't like it, and out there on something like that. So anyway,
well, as far as I know, that's hearsay, and I don't know what's going on. So, if someone has complaints, they'll always have complaints.
Sharon, but yeah, but the way I understand it is that they were told to bring it up with our neighborhood association, and our neighborhood association didn't agree with it, and so now we're being criticized for not agreeing with this person's opinion. That's kind of the way I understand it.
Well, I don't know what Sharon expected to accomplish, but she wanted to have the discussion.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
I was just
postponing
throwing
it is
it
a
out there,
great
what I
idea.
know about it. That's all.
He said, she said, doesn't do anything for me.
Okay.
Okay. So, and in general, if someone has an opinion, I'm more than welcome to listen to it. If they want to go and talk to their neighbor about their opinion, it's a free country. It's up to them if they want to listen to it. Nothing I can do about it.
But they shouldn't be bad mouthing the neighborhood association for a decision that we make.
Well, again, it's a free country, and there are some that we have made bad decisions in the past, and and I will own up to the bad decisions I've helped pass in the past. And I think that's part of the humility of being a public person. With my decisions, you have to accept when you do a bad job, and then you also have to state that I had good reasons to do what I did when I did it. At least stand up for yourself when you think you're right. But I think that's part of this communication dialogue that needs to happen. And if people want to bite each other's heels behind the scenes, I can't condone that, but there's nothing I can do about it. My thoughts.
Well, I think if you're part of, I mean, let's put it this way: the neighborhood association hasn't always made the decision that I like. But as a representative of the neighborhood association, I'm not going to go out and badmouth it for it. Not on social media. And I think
So-
that's kind of what I think that's kind of where she's coming from.
Okay, so you're saying that there is someone who is currently on one of our committees that is bad mouthing the neighborhood association.
That's the way I understand it.
Well, let's wait and listen to it,
Okay,
because I have no idea who she's talking about or what she's talking about.
okay. All right, that's fine. Well, and I didn't want to say I didn't want to throw a name out, but yeah, that's fine.
You just did. All right, let's move on. What's the other agenda item? You want me
Check.
to go back to that?
Member issues of concern, any other new business that anybody has?
Not me, other than I
Okay.
didn't get to the ice cream social today.
Conflict of interest forms, did everybody submit those?
I have not submitted one for a while now. I don't know if the one that I've submitted still covers or if I need to submit another one.
It needs to be done annually.
Okay.
So I
if
don't
I've
know.
done- I don't know that I've done
We
one
did
this
them
year.
in April.
Okay, I don't know if I did one or not.
It's always good to have just do it and
Okay,
maybe put it on your calendar every April.
will
don't know.
somebody send me a blank so and I'll do it, or will somebody send me another blank and I will do it, fill it out, and send it back?
Kelly, do you have access to those? If not, I can dig one up for them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be right now.
I don't know where I'd find it.
Okay,
That's my problem. I don't know where I'd find it right now either.
okay. I will send you one.
Thank you, Tamara.
Mhm.
Okay, next agenda item is slow streets. That's Scott coming to the November meeting, and I have here on the agenda, do we need to distribute flyers prior to that?
My feeling is that it would be good to do that. It depends on how much notification he's able to generate. I think we did talk about him to send, this is being Scott Cohen, to mail notification within 300 feet of the actual slow street barricades that are being proposed.
So notification of the proposal or notification that he's going to talk at the committee meeting? What's the question?
They're going to make those barricades permanent.
Yeah. So
And-
what's the
and-
notification for?
And so the question is, how do we get the word out to the neighbors regarding him coming to speak about that?
Okay, so it's a notification of him speaking. Okay.
Right.
Now,
And-
is this in our follow-up too, in the agenda? Was it in the follow-up? The only reason if it's in the follow-up, I'll say what I want to say in the follow-up. If it's part of this discussion right now, I'll say what I want to say now.
Say what you need to say about the
Okay.
topic now.
What I was going to say is that about a week and a half ago, I was coming back from the Brooklyn neighborhood and I was on 12th Avenue, and they had one of these barricades on one of the cross streets, and literally it was out in the parking lane on 12th Avenue. I can just see somebody crashing into that. I'm really concerned about putting these concrete barriers in the street. And that's an example of a bad placement. And if they didn't place it there, you wouldn't have been able, the bigger trucks and garbage trucks wouldn't have been able to get around it. So I'm very concerned about these barriers. The barrels, you'll still damage a car. You could damage a car on the barrels, because I've had a car damaged on a barrel before. Not that I ran into it, but somebody else ran into one and kicked it out in the middle of the street, and it hit my car and did put a dent in the side of the car. But not seriously. But if someone crashes into one of these concrete barriers, they could do some serious damage and even be injured. And I'm very concerned about that.
So Tam,
that's my comment.
do we know which intersection Scott is gonna present on? Because I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Yeah, he sent that to us. It should be in our our emails.
He sent
Uh,
his whole presentation, I think.
Say that again?
I believe he sent us his whole presentation after last time.
So we know which intersections are involved, so we could figure out a strategy for notifying neighbors.
Wait, but the city won't do the notification for us? We have to do it?
My understanding is their notification limit is like 300 feet from the barricades.
Oh, and you want to do more? Okay.
Yeah, and the concept is, let's make sure that enough people along the street know. And so, I don't know, so we feel like it's more equitable. Does
Could
that
be
make sense?
everybody that lives on the street. I mean, they've all got to get into their homes and their driveways and pass that barricade.
And so the question is, do we go in all four directions? Because this is going to be at an intersection. And how do we then address that?
Or is our alternative to do it on Nextdoor, on our website, and other social media postings?
I mean,
Because
then you're only getting a segment of the population that's already relatively engaged.
I just don't know if we have the
You think of
logistical
it,
ways to distribute these flyers.
did we ask the city if they could expand the notification? Because that would be the easiest thing to do if they would. Did they say no? Specifically said no?
I could ask him. I don't know if that question came up. So the question is, where would we want that expanded to? The impacted street?
So
That's what I
300
feel.
feet, 300 feet is like a block, right?
No, it's like, it's about 6 properties, given they're 50 feet wide.
So like a block and a half.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not a block. My block has like 7 houses on it, so it
Well,
would
the
be,
blocks are long and short. Okay, so there's long going north-south and short
Yeah.
going east and west for the most part. The way they
it's
were
about
platted.
60 property, or about 6 properties with 50-foot frontage.
Okay, so what's the desired notice? That's what we're trying to answer here? How far we want them to notify?
Right. And the people that don't get as much traffic probably love it.
Mhm.
So is that who we want to
And the
make
people
sure
on the
that-
next streets over hate it because they get more traffic. I mean, like 52nd is one of the streets. So
Yeah,
you've got more
52nd.
traffic on 51st now.
Yeah.
And that's already been said
Yeah,
at one of our meetings.
it was actually the barricades on 53rd and 52nd gets more.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got the wrong street, but by the Daily Cafe, there's where one of them is.
Right.
So what do we want the notification distance? Does anybody have any input? What have you guys done in the past?
It depends on how big the topic has been. Like with the rezoning for the area down near the transit station on 60th, we
Yeah.
ended up getting probably about 6 people, and each took 2 blocks or 3 blocks and just papered that entire area. So we could get as many people to show up as possible. And so for this, the question is, how much is enough? I don't know. And it's anybody's guess. And that's why they just kind of pick 300 feet, because that's what the standard land use notification area is.
So should we just trust their science that they've decided that 300 feet is right?
We think their notice deals with just what's going on, not with the fact that there's a land use meeting where neighbors could come and hear the presentation and discuss it. Is that right, Tamara?
I don't know the content of the notice, but I think there's room here to discuss it with him.
Well, it seems like to me, if you live on one of those streets, or even if you live on a parallel street, that you're going to have some sort of an impact. It might be positive if you live between two barriers. It might be negative as far as, getting larger trucks, delivery trucks, garbage trucks down there. If you live on a parallel street, it might have a negative impact. So I don't know. I don't know how far you want to go, but it looks like there's more impacts than just where the barrier is placed.
If we could put a sign on the barricade and let it sit there for a week saying, we're going to have a land use meeting on this thing, then anyone that drove by it could say, oh, they're having a land use meeting on this thing.
That's not a bad idea.
And
If
then,
the sign's big enough.
it's self-selecting kind of who gets to see it. I don't know.
Well, the city, what we were talking about earlier, the city put a sign up for the demolition of a statue base. Seems like city could put a sign up on these barrels. Similarly,
I like that. Sound like a good idea to folks?
all we could do is ask.
Okay. The ask is to put signs on the barricades.
Are the barricades already in place?
No, the barrels that are
The
there now,
barrels are.
Temporary.
the temporary barricades.
Are you already in contact with him, Tamara?
I am.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I'd be happy to do that if you want help.
Yeah. We're back and forth quite a bit.
Okay.
Kelly and I are. But thank you. I appreciate that. And we think maybe a week ahead of time.
Sure.
Works for me.
Okay. Okay. And as far as the notification going to the properties, just keep that at 300 feet and we'll do notice as best we can on social media.
Sounds good.
I could accept that with the signs in place.
Okay. How about you, Jenny?
What you want help? Is that what'd you say?
I said, how much notification should he mail out? The question is 300 feet okay?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they could put a sign on the physical things that are there, I think that would be great. That would make a lot of sense to people,
Yeah.
rather than like someone who's never seen, like I've never seen one of those temporary things. So like if somebody came to my door, I might be like, the hell is this?
I'm looking at one right now here at this Alameda and 57th.
Okay. Maybe I just don't notice them.
They're barrels right now. They're just barrels in the street. Striped barrels. Okay. I'll do that. Do we need a motion on that or just say yes? Just go forth and do good.
Just do it.
Go forth and do good. Okay, I'll do that.
And if he says no,
then Kelly and I have to figure something out. We'll have to put one of our signs on it.
I got some markers.
Yeah.
I got some
Okay.
Sharpies, right?
Sharpies. We can do it.
Make some signs.
Call out the gang. Come on, let's go and deface some Peabody.
No. Make signs. I'm not gonna color.
Signs. But they would say you're defacing our Peabody thing. No. You get caught.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, that's right. TriMet never said this.
No, I know. did not mean safety stuff. I just thought we could make some signs.
Will make sense. Yes. All right.
that are rainproof,
That are what?
that are rainproof.
Ah, rainproof. Oh yeah, I
like Slurpee.
remember. We
That's
used
why
to
I said
have
Slurpee.
rain. Back
We're,
in the
we're
day.
gonna get it this weekend.
I hope so. I'm waiting for it. Okay.
The cat's getting upset.
I'm so sorry.
She didn't like the loud talking.
Now talk bad us. Okay, what's
64th and Brazil. Do we need to invite, what's her name, to another meeting to see what PBOT's plan is, or if they have a plan to remove the candlesticks and to do something else?
I feel like
Well-
she was pretty clear that what's there is staying. That's what I heard, but did you guys hear something different?
Maybe I was too optimistic that she was
Well,
gonna
I
think.
think they were saying that, you tell us what you want and then we will, talk about it. And so we asked them to give us description, and basically they gave us a description, and then I guess she's expecting us to say, take those candlesticks down and just use, little short stubby, barriers. I don't know.
I thought we were gonna paint the street and blah, 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 but
Yeah, there's that too. And that's what I've been chasing, is getting the information from her about painting the street. She sent me some stuff. I shared it with you guys. And then I wanted the contacts from the folks in Sellwood. And she said, what in the last email that I got, which was about a week ago, is it's called Street Places, something like that. They're the ones in charge of organizing things like that. And so it's a matter of just contacting them. The question is, who's going to be the lead in doing this? And I think ideally it would be someone from that area, not necessarily us.
I vote Sharon.
yeah, she's the
Ooh, I
closest.
like that.
I was thinking the same thing. The other part of that was something about some sort of different type of a curb or something like that, and I'm not sure what that was. I'm wondering, I keep wondering if it's those little things that they keep putting in the middle of the street with the yellow hash marks on them.
It
go
could
down-
be. And I know they're like 8 inches long, and the way she was describing them, and they're like 3 inches high. Like,
Well, there's
you know,
If you
little
drive down
rubber
Stark
bricks.
Street or Washington Street, they're all over the place at all the different intersections to try to, also you can't cut the corner, you got to make wider curves and all this stuff. They got little yellow hash marks all down them. Now, I'm not saying that's the same thing, but I'm thinking that may be what she's talking about.
Washington Street is a long street. What part of where are
Washington, where it's one way east of 82nd, out near 205. I think there's some there. They're on Stark anyway, out in that area in East
Oh,
County.
these are the tough curbs.
Tough
They're
curbs,
cheap.
yeah. And they're like they look like a little kind of a bump, and they've got little yellow hash marks all down them. And they're extending it in the middle of the street so that you have to make a wider curve around a crosswalk or around a corner. They're putting them in between a left turn lane and the traffic going the other direction. I think that's what she's talking about, but I'm not sure. And I'm saying it because I'm trying to visualize if they're not, what the heck they would be. This is what I'm visualizing.
So
But
how do
they're-
you move this along, Tamara? Do you have an idea?
I think what would be good is to call one of them back and get some clarification of the materials that they had talked about for the presentation of that they could use and what the options are. So
Can they
whether,
send us pictures?
okay. So Terry, you want to be in charge of that? getting,
Well, you need to send me a contact and I'll email. If you want to send me a contact of who to email.
last name is Alba, I believe.
Alba.
Yep. And, but I
Okay.
will send you the contact and what I've received to date. And
Okay,
what I can do is just send everybody that. So everybody has that contact.
that's a good idea.
It's not proprietary information. And the information that she sent to us, I will just forward that to everyone.
Yeah, it's somebody I've never talked to at Peabot, so it's somebody new with me.
Well,
I
she's
do know a lot
actually
of people at Peabot, but not,
yeah, she's the person who was one of the presenters at our session, at one of our meetings. So anyway, I will
okay.
share that information gladly and let you guys see it again, and where we are in the dialogue. And what I'll do is I'll just do screenshots of each one of the conversations and you know, and also all the attachments, and to say, here, this is what we've got so far. I'll let you guys look at it, and if you could maybe gather information about the options of road devices that could be used instead of those candlesticks, that would be good. And I think Sharon would be a great person to identify as the lead on doing the placemaking. But I don't want to be mean and assign it to her without her here. That's just me.
You're too nice.
I know, but it's up to you, because you two have a vote over me, so it's up to you.
I would be happy to contact Sharon and ask her if she would do something with the street places.
Yep.
And if she
Sounds fine
volunteers,
with me.
then we're good.
That's right.
Sounds fine with me.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
She seems to know a couple of the neighbors there. I got the impression that are a little closer than she is, so.
All right. I think more information out there is better. You know, just Kelly and I doing all of this is like, you know, right now we've like, I don't know, 6 or 7 strings of conversation long on this one email. It's like, okay, trying to keep track of all the moving parts is kind of difficult. So it'll probably be a good organizational thing for me to do anyway. Try to keep everything together. Okay.
The 72nd Avenue Bikeway. Did we get everything we needed to from Winston? And were we going to do something with what we requested? We asked all the comments, I think.
We asked for all this information on the comments, and Sharon was really wanting to dig into those comments to see if where the comments were coming from, but the comments were not geographically linked. Okay, so she couldn't get that type of information.
There was no zip codes?
I don't think so.
I mean, when you do, of course, maybe they consider that part of demographics, but I took a survey today, a Peabot survey, about 122nd, because I'm out there a lot. And, you know, one of the first things they ask for is, what is your zip code? In fact, I think it was the first thing they asked for is, what is your zip code at the
Well,
end?
97213 is pretty darn big, and we're all in 97213.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't say much of anything.
But at least it brings it closer together than if someone is saying it from, you know, deep southeast or something like that.
That's true. Well, I know
Or
that
even Lawhurst. Lawhurst is
information was provided to us, and I handed it over to Sharon.
Okay.
Jenny, you're welcome to it as well. It's just free data that they published. If you're interested. I think the question was, I think she was concerned that there were outside influences on making this a one-way street, and that it possibly could be misused in that way.
I would
And-
agree with that. I would agree with that because what happens on something like 72nd Drive, the guy with Bike.org puts it out on his website at Bike.org or whatever. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. So all the bicycle advocates in Portland see it, and they all go in and do the survey or send comments in from all over the city. And so that's what happens. I can't think of the guy's name. I met him once, but
the eastern boundary is, I believe, 64th or 65th.
64.
what
So it's not even in our district.
It is
no,
not.
it's 65th, but it's used by everybody that lives around Rose City Park
True.
because Rose City Park is such a big barrier. So I was using it almost every day for a while when I was going up to Gregory Heights Library. Now I'm going out to Midway because I'm going in. It's a bigger library. It's a lot more open.
Should I give a suggestion on the next steps with this 72nd Avenue bikeway?
You broke up on that. I wasn't sure what you said.
Should I ask Sharon if she has suggestions as to where this goes from here on that one way?
That would be great. That would be great. She's most impacted out of all of us, besides
Okay.
Terry. And Terry, I'm not sure what you want done either. So now's the time to.
What I would like is to leave it the way it is or put in a bike path next to it, but they don't seem to want to spend any money in any significant dollars in modest in or in working class neighborhoods anymore. The tennis court's a good example of that.
I mean,
Jack is here.
the tennis court thing seems to be about using the space. Oh gosh. Okay, there's a baby. We can't talk about tennis
Oh
anymore.
my gosh, there's a baby.
Isaac.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
You little-
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and who do you have with you now?
This is Isaac. He is fast asleep, but you never know. Let's see.
How old is that
There he is.
baby?
6 days.
Wow.
Yeah. He's just snoozing away.
Sweet.
So anyway, I wanted to come join you for the last little bit because everyone's kind of asleep now.
Oh, thank you.
And you should be sleeping.
Probably. That's
Probably
true.
need it. Catch it while you can.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'll
so
hang out
much
for a
for
little while.
joining.
Yeah.
I was just responding to what one of you guys just said about the tennis court thing being a disinvestment. I mean, it seems to me that program, I mean, I'm a tennis player. I'm not excited about it either, but it seems that program is really about utilizing the space and the resources for the, what would be the highest use type of activity.
But
What
it's
about
the
disinvestment?
possibility is that they're just going to take it out, period.
Okay, we do have that later on the agenda.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
So the way we're leaving the 72nd Avenue bikeway is that I'm going to talk to Sharon about that and see if she has recommendations on next steps. And we'll talk about it at our next meeting then.
Sounds great.
Okay, the next agenda item is the Southeast Asian Vicariate. So I was having difficulty getting in touch with the developer that supposedly had the first rights to purchase that property. Anyway, that deal has now fallen through. So,
Oh, really?
So I talked to the Archdiocese. She gave me a call and said, yeah, that deal has fallen through. So she promised to keep us me up to date on any further progress on the sale. So I think maybe every couple of weeks I'll call her and play nice.
Thank you so much.
Are they still asking 13 million for it? Or do you know?
You know, we got that number from the German American Society. You know, they said
Yes.
that property was worth 10 million, and then they were speculating that their property was worth 13 million.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I didn't think it was speculation. I thought it was what they were
the
asking.
developer kind of indicated to them, I think, that their property might be worth 13 million.
Okay.
But who knows?
Who knows? Both properties are zoned, I think, R2 or something like that. They're residential.
Next item is the construction projects, the Umpqua Bank. I am still trying to get a hold of the developer there to understand. I haven't seen people moving in yet. Has anybody else seen activity in there?
Nope.
This is at 47th and Sandy. So I'll try to find out what their move-in date is. The Umpqua Bank, as far as I can tell, has not moved back either. So-
Question. As I recall, in our initial discussions, they were going to put up some sort of a sign, Rose City Park, for the neighborhood. And I don't recall seeing one the last time I drove by.
True,
You
I
remember-
haven't seen it either.
So I'm wondering if they're still going to do that or that has gone by the wayside. But I remember that in some of the early discussions that they had said they were going to do that. Or Rose City Park neighborhood or something like that, some sort of a sign on the building.
Yeah, it was a vertical sign.
Yeah.
Remember it.
Okay,
Could you check on that, Kelly?
I will ask about that.
Thank you.
Okay, the Sandy 51. Tamara, you had communication with the planner.
I submitted our opposition to them changing the bottom floor to residential. And I forwarded the comments from the board saying they supported our letter of opposition. And I have not heard anything back. I haven't received a determination letter, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Now we can talk about
Kelly, did the walk ever happen?
the woman that was Susan or Susie didn't want to do it.
Mhm.
And so I went and toured Sandy 51, and the manager agreed to do a little walkthrough with the neighbors. And so I corresponded back and forth with the woman in the neighborhood, and she ultimately said, no, I don't think it's worth doing.
a walkthrough, really?
Intent was to kind of walk around the neighborhood and look at the parking problems and whatever safety issues there were. And that was the intent of the walkthrough. And then I was going to invite all the board members to attend because Zach expressed some interest in walking around. And if we didn't have somebody from the neighborhood kind of spearheading it, it kind of fell on the wayside.
She decided that she wanted to go to the planning school and ask them advice,
Yeah, Portland State.
Portland State.
Okay.
So I might reach out to her again and see if she has a feeling about this adding 6 more units and see if that piqued her interest or her neighbor's interest.
It's certainly not something that's going to be just unique to that property around the city of Portland. And so I'd be curious to see what the ideas are that are going to come out of this or from any of the other places where this is happening.
Yeah. I think,
And I don't know who to talk to find that out.
there has been some discussion about parking studies or parking permits that would be limiting those that are in the residential area
Right.
to just the residential area and commercial to the commercial area. And since this is in the commercial area, this would prevent them from parking in the residential area. But the hiccup there was that the folks thinking about this didn't think about contacting and allocating parking for any of the commercial uses. And since we have all these mom and pop stores that depend on the adjacent residential area to get their customers to their stores, it kind of blew up because they tried to implement this down at Hawthorne area but didn't talk to the businesses at all. And so
Who was that? Was that Peabot?
Yeah.
Do you remember like what committee or who was spearheading that or leading it?
I was on the committee and I was the one that kept on talking about watch out for the businesses and that you need to allocate some a voice at the table and provide them parking as well. But they didn't want to listen to it. I've forgotten the planner's name that was running that.
Okay.
This was about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
It wasn't that long
8
ago. I
years
think it was
ago?
more like 5, 6 years ago.
I know I went to some of those meetings.
Yeah.
They were both in the Multnomah County building.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you
But-
have anybody, I'm curious about this. I know that some other people are too, and so I would love to know more about the history of it being pretty new. So
Okay.
maybe
Well, I think
offline I can send
the
it.
city came up with something called a toolkit. It's a parking plan toolkit, and that got published. And I think what they were trying to do is implement that in select areas in the city as trials. And the first place was down in Hawthorne district, and
Mhm.
it just had problems.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
That's what I know. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good concept, but it just needed to have a little bit more, communication built into it.
You need to put
allocation
that
for
chapter
the-
into the toolkit.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Next is the tennis courts. So we wrote a letter.
We approved the letter. I haven't written it yet. I have to be honest.
What's it gonna say?
It's recommending that we go ahead and keep tennis courts at that location. That the tennis courts should include use as for tennis, but also encourage other uses that are compatible with that space. So
What's the basis? Like, why deviate from the city's kind of like survey and study of
Well,
the use?
the thought was that the courts are actually used quite a bit by the local folks. And so there was question of whether or not this study was in depth enough to get the local input.
Yeah. The other thing that was brought up at the board meeting is that the two closest courts, which are at Grant and up by Madison, are always busy, and it's hard to even get a court in those two areas. So, and one of them, I forget, I think one of them was past the limits of where they said that they want a tennis court within, 2 miles or 3 miles or whatever. One of them is outside of that, that limit for part of Rose City Park. So,
I mean, I've played a lot of league tennis, and I mean, in my opinion, the courts here aren't crowded because they're shitty. And, you know, if they improve them, that situation changes. I mean, that's why people flock to Glenhaven and Grant.
Yeah, well, that's part of it is that they don't want to upgrade them. They'd rather tear them out than upgrade them. And the original list had Rose City Park as one that they might remove, period.
Yeah, I saw that, but they're also taking survey from the community. I mean, that's just kind of proposed study, and like it sounded to me, I read through the website and submitted my survey results, but I mean they're still taking survey from community members as to how those courts are utilized. And so I guess like how does us in this group of 5-6 people say, well, we know better than whoever's submitting survey results?
Well, it went to the board, and the whole board made the decision to write
Yeah,
the
but
letter.
there was legitimate question of, has anyone actually read into the survey and found out what other people think? And, and that
The
was
survey's
discussed.
still open. I mean, it's still open to.
It is. I thought it was cut off I thought it was cut off. That's what somebody said at the board meeting, that it was
Yeah,
the last
Jennifer
day.
said it was cut off.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I just submitted one really recently at another court that I was at. I don't know. Every time I see that sign up at a court, I submit a thing.
I think, part of that was testimony from members on the board that have their kids take lessons down there, and a few other things that how much they depend on those courts.
I hope they filled out the survey.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
So we have the Parks Commissioner coming to our meeting, right? So this
We
would
do.
be the questions we would ask them.
That's right. So
Get the letter written before she comes.
I will. That's on the 26th of October, so I think I will get it in
Okay.
by then. But also, we have the opportunity to raise questions that we pose to them, to each of the speakers. And so if there's questions from this committee that you'd like to pose to her, she is part, she's commissioner in charge of Parks and Rec, as well as planning and sustainability. So I want to find out if there are questions that we should forward to her that you have concerns about that you'd like to raise.
I just pasted in a little thing I found on the city's website on the survey. It looks like the tennis court survey did close last week, but it says that they received a strong response with thoughtful comments.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just my concern is like, I acknowledge maybe in the letter that, they did that they had a process. I mean, that comment period seems like it was open for a really long time with really good, signage and notification.
Yeah, I submitted comments on that too. I did the survey.
I feel like I did the survey as well, and now I'm feeling so out of the loop. Can you just give me a quick update about what exactly the question was with these specific courts at Rose City Park? Was it to take them out, to resurface them, repurpose them? I can't remember where
It
they
was
were on the list.
asking the survey. So these courts were slated for either I think they're just like evaluation for further study, right? Like either repurposing or potentially remove. I don't remember reading
Repurposing or removing.
It sounds
Yeah.
like Terry saw
Yeah,
that.
that's correct.
So
But
basically
the
not to be tennis
survey-
courts anymore.
Right, but the survey wasn't, do you want this or that? The survey said, how often do you use these courts for
Yeah.
tennis, and how often would you use it if it was, skate, basketball,
Right.
pickleball?
And just to make it clear, what we said is that tennis should be one of the, there's 2 courts within the enclosure, and tennis should be one of the things that's still there, not saying that you couldn't design it where you could have pickleball as well or something like that. That's the way that was what the board more or less approved. we want to keep the courts, and the tennis ought to be one of the games that can be played there, and you know, make it so that you can do other stuff too. And I don't know what all that involves, but that would be where I would hope the Parks Bureau would come to the neighborhood and say, okay, here's the design, or here's what we can do, rather than just making a decision.
Well, frankly, the tennis courts serve the area. It's not just Rose City Park. So it would be nice, you know, to have a community meeting that would involve Madison South
Roseway.
and Roseway, as well as us. So
Did they
think it's
provide
really-
any? Oh, sorry, Tamara.
I just want to, you know,
Did they provide any threshold saying like this is the amount of use that needs to be in place, or else it should not be tennis courts? I mean, it seems like that's a pretty easy metric to have. Like, this is how much it needs to be used, or else we need to repurpose it to something else. Did they talk about that at all? Because I didn't see any of that in the survey. Have you heard anything? Anybody?
nope.
Okay. I mean, to me, that would be a great question to ask them. Is say, you're doing your data collection. How much does the court need to be used for tennis in order to maintain it or justify it as a tennis court? And if it doesn't meet that threshold, how do you decide, or at what point do you decide it's a multi-use or no tennis? I'm assuming it's data driven, so we should just ask them where their thresholds are. I don't know if I can ask that question because I don't know if I'll be there because of this. But if someone's there, that'd be a good question to ask, I think.
Okay.
And presumably they probably know what the numbers are if they've been doing any kind of surveying of the use. I go to that park once or twice just about every single day, and there's almost always people playing tennis. That's just my offhand observation, but that's just one person's little anecdotal
Kind of the
observation.
way I feel too. At least I don't go to the park that often, but I do see, drive by or something, because I live on one of the streets that intersects into the park, and you see the lights on. You see people playing tennis at night. See people in the court during the day. So I think it's fairly, I won't say hugely heavily used, but I think it's regularly used.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
One thing that Jennifer mentioned was the classification that you'd have to have professional level tennis court grade surfacing or something like that. and you know, in reality, just having a court that didn't have cracks is all that is really needed. So
I see a lot
That
of
made a
tennis
lot of
played there,
sense.
not a lot of professional tennis played there.
that includes me. Not very professional. It's more just fun exercise.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next is the Cully TIF. We're just waiting for more information on that.
At this
What?
point,
They still have to make a decision on how they're going to select members that make the decisions for how the money's going to be spent.
okay, Jenny, do you and Zachary, do you know what we're talking about?
Help me out.
No, I missed the last meeting.
Yeah, that's when we're tossing around acronyms like this, it doesn't make sense. This is a tax increment financing proposal being pulled together by Cully to help support both affordable housing as well as economic development for that area. And so instead of I don't know if you're familiar with how a TIF works, but those that don't, what happens is they select an area and that becomes a district. And the district actually extends into not just Cully, it goes a little bit either side. And it doesn't really creep into Rose City Park, maybe one lot, but And once they identify it, then they can freeze the property value on all of those. And then the incremental value that comes in over the years ends up being captured and then used on that district. It won't impact any of the properties per se. It doesn't increase the property values and stuff, except for the added improvements generated by the district. It does impact some of the other taxing districts, like the Multnomah County, what is it, levy? The water district that takes care of the dike down there along the Columbia River. It will impact the schools, but apparently what happens is the schools, if it doesn't come out of this district, then it gets spread to all the other properties evenly. So it
What
comes
I-
from somewhere else. Yeah.
Tamara, what I understand is that the state covers the difference for the schools. In other words, that money actually comes from the state. So what the schools don't see in increased tax revenue, the state covers. And then the other thing that I understand, and I could be wrong on this, that we're more than one lot into Rose City. It's basically the south side of Fremont from 57th. So from 57th, I think all the way to 47th, the south side of Fremont. Just the first, it would be the first lot facing, whatever faces Fremont or is on one of the corners. In other words, the lot has to abut Fremont to be part of the TIF. And I think that was probably done so that, because you can't have a separate island, you have to have a boundary that is continuous. So to get part of some part of Fremont in or something like that, I think they had to do that, but I'm not positive.
Okay. In any case, this is a creative way to, instead of urban renewal, tearing up a neighborhood by saying, oh, we're going to put all this new business and then gentrify. It's using it for affordable housing. And how they do this is interesting. It's going to be the investments can only be approved by the city council. And it won't be necessarily approved by any committee. The committee that Terry was talking about is actually a programmatic committee looking at, these are the goals that we have for the next 5 years. You know, and so there are strict regulations on what they can spend the money on. But it was interesting at the presentation they gave to us at CNN was in the document, it talked about a lot of money going towards affordable housing. And then David Sweet said, no, we're thinking about the majority of the money going towards economic development on 42nd. And so I think they went like this. And so at this point, they're confabbing, trying to figure out exactly what the goal of what the plan is going to be. And that's what we asked about, is how is the money going to be spent? And the way the program is explained right now, it offers the moon. It says, okay, if you want to keep your home and don't have enough money, just ask us and we'll write you a check, you know, and that kind of thing. And it's like, I want them to make sure that they're not being disingenuous with the population that they're selling this to. And that's my fear. And I see it as a good tool, but I want to make sure it's going to be a good tool. So it's something that
I thought that the committee actually made recommendations to the city council.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got some feedback there. I thought that the committee actually made recommendations to the city council on specific projects. That was the way I understood it. That's why you have a committee, is so they look at it and they make a recommendation for, hey, we want to put new housing here, or we want to land bank this, or we want to do that. That was the way I understood it.
Only if it's in the 5-year plan. You know, what they have is a 5-year plan and say, okay, the 5-year plan, it depends on how detailed that 5-year plan is. But basically it says, okay, this is how we're spending the money. And I think then it's up to city charter on who bids on what project in those areas.
Yeah, I guess what I was thinking is that within that 5 years, a piece of property comes up for sale, or a piece of property is however it's acquired by the city, and then or however, I'll just say it comes up for sale, and the committee says, yeah, this is a good piece to buy based on our plan. That's kind of the way I see it. Or this is a good place to put affordable housing based on our plan. As they're an advisory committee is what that's the way I took it.
Okay, well, maybe they have more pull than I think.
And my
They probably
concern
do.
is how do they select these committee members, and they haven't decided that yet.
Right. My concern is also self-dealing because.
Oh, sure.
You
With a
know,
developer possibly on the committee. That's absolutely correct.
right. And
Who's spearheading this?
Eli Spivak and
David Sweet,
Hacienda, NEA. I'm not sure who else. Do you
David
remember?
Sweet's in the middle of it.
Yeah, David Sweeten and is with Eli.
And
Are they
Eli's a
developers or are they
developer.
something else?
Eli is a developer. Yes.
Okay.
And actually, some of these other groups are they've got paid staff like Hacienda. They're also a developer that has paid staff. I mean, they're developing the property there where the Sugar Shack used to
Yeah,
be.
it's affordable housing. Yes.
They're affordable housing developers.
Right. Right.
So
What's
I
the
mean,
duration? Oh, sorry,
it's
Jenny.
really good that they have a voice on the committee because they know what's feasible, right?
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
What's the
I
duration
think the
that's being-
concern is making sure that the neighborhood has some voice, the residents that are being impacted
And Coley,
in Cully, whoever's
what-
in the district.
what's our involvement?
South side of Fremont.
It really, it's I see us as a voyeur. Okay. I see us as an outside people looking in saying, this could be a really good tool. And how can we, make sure that this tool is the best possible? And we might want to replicate it here. So that's what I'm looking at. And I also want to make sure that the public information that gets out there to the residents is appropriate, or else they'll feel dejected. I just don't want them to think they're getting the candy store and they end up, being told, no, you only can live here if you're on one of our land trusts or something. I don't know. I just want them to go at it with open understanding of all the information. So that's I just like public information. I want the public to have this stuff out there, and they've had a lot of secretive meetings, which is frustrating. So for me, I'm sorry, what?
The baby noises are amazing.
I
They
know.
are.
Literally right next to the microphone.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Do you know how long the TIF duration is proposed for? How many years?
30 years, I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say 25, but you may be right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big commitment. It'd be interesting. I don't know enough about them to
And
make
the other
any
thing,
kind of
the other thing
judgment.
that Tamara didn't mention is that they don't feel they're going to have really any spendable money for about the first 5 years, where they can actually build something or buy something. But on the other hand, I guess they can borrow against what is coming in.
That's right. And that's something they typically do. And, I think concern right now is the price of land going up so fast. And if you can get land and land bank it, for whatever, land trust or affordable housing, I think that's great. So, I think it's a creative tool. I'm a land use planner, I'm a wonk, so I like to see it as a voyeur saying, wow, can this actually work? That's where I'm coming from. How about you, Kelly?
I agree. Is CNN our window into the process?
Yes, they are.
So they're going to come back and present various times to the Blue Top
Yeah.
Committee.
And those meetings are open to the public. So anyone that's curious and wants to be informed at those meetings, you guys can show up. Anyone can show up. Because
I
they're
guess
all
I
on
don't-
Zoom.
Yeah.
You don't have to go anywhere. It's pretty cool. I think it's great. In some ways, I think having Zoom meetings is a little bit more egalitarian. People don't have to get up and drive, and
They can take their 5-day-old babies
that's right.
That's right. Here I am.
and their cats.
And a cat. Or a dog that's chewing in the
Computer.
background. Got a puppy.
That's all that's on the agenda, Tamara.
Okay. Yes, Jenny.
Jenny,
I know this is outside of our boundary, but did you guys see that the city did like an emergency speed reduction on Halsey at 114th?
Yes. Yep. In fact, I saw that and I posted it on Nextdoor. Just to let folks know.
Just as a comment to that, I think I said to some couple of you, and I don't know if everybody was on. I know Zach wasn't. I attended Mingus Maps Town Hall on Monday night, and one of the questions that are part of the question that I brought up was they're doing all these speed reductions, but I tend to be out in South or East County a lot, 122nd and out in that area. And I'll tell you what I see pedestrians doing, walking in the middle of the street, walking against it, on Division and 122nd, green light for Division, and there's a guy crossing Division in the crosswalk. And I see this almost every day that I'm out there, pedestrians totally ignoring safety. And the reason they're doing this is because so many pedestrians are getting hit. And I think we agreed that we need some pedestrian education in the city because they're just ignoring. They're crossing in the middle of the block. They're crossing where traffic is. I mean, I'll probably see one a day, even driving out there, because I took the meeting I was at the Midway Library for the meeting in their parking lot. Driving out there, here's two guys with a shopping cart standing in one of the travel lanes in Halsey, just having a conversation. You had to go around them. It was the narrow place of Halsey there where it's one way, and everybody had to stop, go around them, wait to the next. And they're right next to a curb extension. They could have been having that on the curb, but this is so typical of what's happening in East County.
Well,
And-
I don't see that as education, needing education. What they're doing is baiting conflict, and
Well, that's true too. Yes.
and that's what we're living with right now is having homeless that are,
But they're not all homeless people.
if they get hit, then you get to put them up in a house or a hospital for a few days.
But these people are not all homeless.
There's also a lack of pedestrian infrastructure in a lot of those areas, like out on Division. When you're talking about East County Division, I mean, there are blocks and blocks without a safe pedestrian crossing. I mean, I cross Halsey at an illegal crossing, without a pedestrian crossing every time I cross it because I don't want to walk blocks and blocks one direction or the other.
Yeah, but every intersection is a pedestrian crossing. I'm talking about even crossing in the middle of the block. Every corner is considered a crossing in the city of Portland. Every intersection is a crossing.
Right, but it's not necessarily safe. Drivers, I mean,
It's not.
I mean,
And I'm hoping that they do more rapid beacon crossings on like 122nd places
That's the
where
plan.
pedestrians
That's part
actually
of the
need.
plan. I took the survey today.
There's a
But they're
bunch of
doing a lot of other
RFPs going
screwy
on with
things, too.
Division.
I'm sorry, Jenny, you got over.
There's a
Top of-
lot of RFPs going up on Division.
Good.
You know,
We did.
I'm out that way a lot too because I have some family that lives out there, and I am of the opinion that the speed reductions mean nothing because I haven't seen one piece of traffic enforcement out there in years when we've been visiting. And we drive the speed limit and people go by us 10, 20 miles an hour over the speed limit out on East Halsey constantly. Constantly.
And that,
And no one gets pulled over.
and having rules without enforcement doesn't mean anything. And so that's getting back to the police issue,
Got to be enforced. Until it's
gotta be
enforced, it
enforced.
doesn't mean anything.
right?
That's
driving-
kind of what,
keep
that's
driving the
kind of what
speed limit,
Mingus
Zach.
said about the pedestrians.
What's that, Jenny?
Keep driving the speed limit.
I know. I do it.
I got past doing that on Coley like a month ago,
Yep.
like on a 2-lane road.
Oh, God, people are nuts. They just dog around you and it's,
It's true. I would love for us to talk about at some point advocating as a committee around speed camera enforcement and writing a letter and talking to the city and trying to make it happen because the truth is it's not happening with our police force
and where would we like that?
everywhere.
Yeah.
Tillamook's,
Well,
I
we
live
need
right next.
license plates
I
on
live
the
next to
bicycles,
Tillamook.
too, so that when they run red lights, they can get picked
Terry,
up on the red light cameras.
Terry, don't talk over Zachary. He has the
Oh,
floor.
I didn't hear him talking. I'm sorry. I thought he was.
No, I
done.
mean, Halsey, Tillamook, all the greenways, everywhere. I mean, we are on our bike or walking all the time, and people are going just insane speeds. In front of our house, 20-mile-an-hour zones, doing 35, 40 every day, all
I
day.
don't think the city's ever gonna put speed cameras on a residential street.
Yeah, I don't think
where we
I
live,
don't think
but
they.
I agree with you, like Tillamook and Halsey or do they do speed cameras or they only have red light cameras? They have speed cameras too?
They do
Yeah,
both.
they've got
Yeah.
speed cameras,
Mhm.
mostly on the what they call them, the high volume, high crash.
Yeah.
There is one on Division on about 100 and something, and
Yeah,
I don't
we
know
really
where-
wanted it on 57th when we had a couple major crashes on 57. And they went, you don't have enough crashes.
Tillamook is crazy. I mean, it's 20
Crazy.
miles an hour and I routinely drive 20 on that. And the same thing, people are just like, behind you.
I'll tell you, the speed bumps increase fuel consumption and emissions because people speed up, slow down, speed up and slow down. So all you're doing is adding emissions and adding fuel consumption.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the costs. But Tillamook also, I've never been on a residential street that is just crazy fast. It's like a highway. People are going down that street. So, yeah, I would love to see speed cameras on Tillamook, for example.
I'd love to see license plates on bicycles. So when they go through the red lights, they get caught with the red light cameras.
You know, I wonder if we can do something like they do with air sensors and, set up our own speed cameras and, send in digital readings and saying, hey, did you know, I don't know.
The 238, is it 238 safe or wherever you can report like PBOT to safety issues to PBOT, they do say if you have photographic evidence, it's helpful. Start taking videos, Zach.
I took a video of someone doing like the donuts in the
great.
intersection of 62nd and Hancock.
Oh
with
my gosh.
People like 15 feet away. Not kidding. I called the police, the non-emergency number, and was like, hey, just a heads up, I have this video. You can see the people. I can give you 5 different witnesses who watched it. And they said, yeah, thanks. See ya.
Really?
What I'd like to see the city do there is have a place where these kids could go and do that safely, just like what they want to do with the gun violence. Have some sort of activities to take their mind off. I'd like to see a place where they can go and show off their cars and be able to do that sort of activity. My first thought was TIR, but someplace where people are responsible, you might have somebody from, law enforcement there to counsel them or whatever, but where they can actually do it and they're not doing it in the street. That's what's really needed. I remember when some of these various cities, more so in California, would have drag strips where the kids could go and drag their cars instead of doing it on the street. And they were often done, as part of the police force were there, and it also made the police force more acceptable instead of just being the enemy.
It's a good point. It really is. And, I know it didn't matter, back in Tennessee, in East Tennessee, where I grew up, they tried to shut it down. It'd just pop up somewhere else. And I think making it legitimate somewhere, and just saying, okay, yeah, this is where you go, every, the first Saturday of the month, this is where you do this, go for it.
Yeah.
Make it safe as possible, but, give them a place to let out their yayas.
That's the way I feel. I mean, it's like a rite of passage almost.
Unfortunately, it is. Gas
I used to
guzzlers
go
and everything.
cruising when I was, late teens.
So is there anything else for the good of the order? Or can everyone go home and have their dinner and play with your baby?
One more thing is, I'm not sure that we have a lot of agenda items for October. Would we consider inviting somebody to come and talk to the committee? And I have no idea who that would be and what it would be about, but we do that for general meetings. Anyway, you might think about that if we have time in the meeting to have a speaker come and talk about something we're interested in, whether it's
Who's coming in November, Kelly?
Scott
Cohen.
Cohen from Safe Streets.
Okay, Safe Streets. Okay.
Anyway,
Okay,
if anybody has any ideas, send it to Tamara and I, and we could maybe think about including somebody.
and what I have as a recap of to-do list is get a conflict of interest form to Terry. And then for me to ask Scott Cohen about getting signs on barricades 1 week prior to the meeting. And make sure that he does 300-foot notice, which is what we had agreed upon. Forward the Brazee and 64th contact and info to the land use committee as well as Terry in regards to placemaking and the idea of the, what different types of crosswalk material can be used. And then we got the bikeway, 72nd bikeway at next meeting, and Kelly to speak to Sharon about the next steps for 72nd. And then in the letter to the about the tennis courts, acknowledge the good outreach effort. And question to Carmen Rubio is, what is the threshold usage of the tennis courts to keep them as tennis courts? That pretty much it.
Can I ask a quick question? Because of my child situation, there's a chance that I'll show up late or have to leave or whatever. Is it still okay if I add agenda items? Because I don't want to add them and then not show, but there's a chance I just can't control that. How do y'all feel about that?
You mean agenda items or questions for her?
Agenda items for future meetings.
Yeah, please do.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
it's
Okay,
a
thank you.
great idea. We're always asking for agenda items.
Okay.
So it's one of the calls that we typically send out when we're not too busy with family or something
Sure.
like that.
Speaking of
Isaac
having to,
could-
go ahead.
And if Isaac could join us, that's just a benefit.
That sounds great. Speaking of having to go, my child may have just defecated a lot, so I'm going to go.
Poop explosion.
Exactly. It just happened. So I'm sorry I have to leave early, and it's nice to see everybody.
We're closing the
We're-
meeting.
Okay.
Not going anywhere.
That sounds great.
Thank you,
Okay.
Zachary. Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.